Dana White explains why Brock Lesnar ultimately decided not to return to the UFC MMA Fighting. We use cookies and other tracking technologies to improve your browsing experience on our site, show personalized content and targeted ads, analyze site traffic, and understand where our audience is coming from. To find out more, by choosing I accept, you consent to our use of cookies and other tracking technologies. Isn't coming back to the UFC, but the reasons behind his decision have been grossly misinformed. That's according to UFC president, who addressed Lesnar's status after revealing several weeks ago that he wasn't coming back to fight again and reigning heavyweight champion would instead face in a rematch in September. For the better part of the past year, Cormier had been pursuing a fight against Lesnar after the WWE superstar made a surprise appearance cage-side and ended up shoving the former two-time Olympian to begin promoting what was supposed to be an eventual showdown between the two of them. Before Lesnar could fight again, he had to re-enter the USADA, United States Anti-Doping Agency drug testing pool and serve out the remainder of a previous suspension for a violation of the UFC's anti-doping policy. Lesnar took care. White then abruptly announced that Lesnar opted to stay retired and would not be returning to the UFC. Speculation began almost immediately that Lesnar spurned the UFC's offer in part because all of the pay-per-view broadcasts have now moved under the ESPN umbrella as part of the company's 7-year deal with the Disney-owned network, and the financial incentives were no longer as great. Lesnar was one of the UFC's biggest draws during his previous stints with the promotion, and he made a huge part of his paycheck from the back end of pay-per-view buys. It turns out financial security was a big part of Lesnar's decision-making, but White claims it had nothing to do with the UFC's new pay-per-view structure, but rather WWE CEO Vince McMahon doing everything in his power to keep the hulking heavyweight on his roster. That's not why Brock Lesnar didn't fight, White told when asked if Lesnar rejected the UFC's new pay-per-view model. Brock Lesnar, White scoffed at the idea that Lesnar and fellow UFC superstar have refused to fight because of the financial restraints that now supposedly exists because the pay-per-view structure for the company has changed. White says that couldn't be further from the truth, not to mention his declaration that the UFC's pay-per-view business is doing just fine right now. That's absolutely false, White said. And if you really look, really? We were still pulling. As for Lesnar, after he notified the UFC that he wouldn't be making his return, he almost immediately popped up on WWE television programming once again. Lesnar is now expected to appear at the WWE's latest show in Saudi Arabia, dubbed Super Showdown, on Friday, and by all accounts, he will continue his run in the professional wrestling company as the 41-year-old former champion has apparently put fighting behind him for good, or at least until it's time to negotiate his next deal. I don't think he ever had an intention of fighting again. Used UFC, I don't think the UFC could offer Lesnar enough money for one fight to match a multiple event contract from WWE. I think Brock got paid around $10+ million for UFC 200 for roughly 3-5 months of work. At least that's what I think. Brock's yearly contract with the WWE is under $10 million, and that's about 100+ appearances/shows. Holy shit, that's crazy numbers. So maybe now, never heard he was paid anywhere near this amount. When was that revealed? For UFC 200. I am pretty sure if he got them. I don't think he did. Actually, his appearances during that time were closer to like 6. Not at all. You were being played. Brock was clear to wrestle and fight with Vince's blessing. He allegedly failed a USADA test again, but with the Jones rule they don't release results, so they're going with retired. But I just want to sincerely thank them this time around, and hopefully they keep Brock around for a long time. Exactly what everyone speculated. But the question of where that money comes from and where it goes was the speculation. In this case, I'd like to say that Lesnar is no dummy, but I want. This is simply a, did that play no role in the decision? No chance of win, as was Nate for Conor. As was Bigfoot for, the list is endless. That's why they fight. It seems two things prevail. First is money and, one, he is not good at fighting, and two, he would not be able to fight Frank Mir again. Did Frank Mir retire? And gotta love that subtle jab at the end there, nice work.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.